I wonder if he was just listening out. And Armsmaster said, no more tricks. And he's like, that's my cue, baby. And then swaps him. Welcome to Inchworm,
the podcast in which we're inching through worm. I'm Jenny.
And I'm Ted.
And we read Tangle 6.7?
7, yeah, 6.7.
Great.
Tangle 6.7.
That sounds like the right number.
It's a momentous one.
I did not expect it to be this exciting.
Yeah.
I was thinking, like, obviously things have to get complicated again. I was like, there's an outside chance they're just, like, gonna get caught on the way back. But, like, I didn't really think it was gonna happen, and it did.
It's a lot. It's a lot of
Not
stuff.
only did the heroes come after them, but then everything metaphorically exploded.
Ooh, yes.
Yes, we are truly in the midst of our tangle.
Yes.
You might even call it a wreck-tangle.
Wow. You might. Spelled differently.
Yes.
Yeah. Would you like to tell the listeners
oh my
about
gosh,
all
I would
of the
love to.
delicious details before we spoil some of the big reveals?
Yeah. So, the Undersiders are leaping across rooftops on the dogs. And then they get down to the street, and Bitch is having trouble holding Tattletale up, so they kind of help. And it turns out the easiest thing is to just get Tattletale off the back of the dog. So they have her. She's unconscious. They're like, do we have pursuit? We don't know. That's usually Tattletale's job. She's not in a state to tell us anything right now, but Taylor has smelling salts because she is incredibly prepared and conscientious.
This is why we love you, Taylor.
This is why she's totally going to research how to communicate with dogs. Except that she's probably leaving the Undersiders, so maybe she won't. Anyway, they wake Tattletale up. Tattletale's like, what happened? They're like, well, you got bitch slapped and then we got away. And Tattletale's like, no, we didn't. And Armsmaster's like, you didn't.
Armsmaster?
Armsmaster. He's there. He and Dauntless, who we haven't seen yet, are there. And it turns out the two of them pinning the Undersiders in an alley are pretty much all you need. Except the Undersiders, of course, escape because they're awesome. And they're like, Armsmaster's like, surrender! And Tattletale's like, we're thinking about it. And the Undersiders have like a whispered conversation. And Tattletale's like, get to the parking garage. And they're like, And she's like, no, get to the parking garage. Because she has information. So they do battle against... Dauntless is the main focus. Armsmaster is kind of fighting the dogs. Dauntless is really cool, and we'll talk about him. But they do get past him. And Dauntless and Armsmaster both chase them to the parking garage, but they make it. And Armsmaster is like, there's no way for you to get out. No more tricks. And as he's saying that, he gets swapped with a giant concrete pillar. And then a sort of machine robot type guy is like banging him against a car. That guy turns out is Trainwreck, we find out later. Circus and Ballistic. So Ballistic is one of the travelers, and Circus is a freelance villain, solo villain. They team up to take down Dauntless. Dauntless has like a shield, and Ballistic keeps like shooting cars at him. And then once the shield gets kind of taken down by the car, Circus goes in and does some stuff. Knives and a sledgehammer and her subspace compartment, etc. Then Armsmaster kind of manages to fight his way back up, but they knock him out again, and Trainwreck, I believe, is the one who like splinters the halberd.
Yeah.
So Armsmaster is out. Dauntless eventually is out. Circus manages to do enough damage to him. Also, there's like a sea monster creature who is Genesis from the Travelers. Mm-hmm. Trickster is there. Is Trickster the teleporter?
He's the swapper, yeah.
Yeah, so Trickster is the one who did the teleportation. So there are a lot of different villains who are involved. Once Dauntless and Armsmaster are out, we get an entrance. Who should come in but Coil?
What?
I know, who says, like, I assumed, Tattletale, when you asked to meet with me at the conclusion of your task, that you wouldn't be bringing the heroes with you. And we're like, dun dun dun. And Taylor realizes... that's it. She has the information she needs. She knows who the boss is.
Yeah.
It appears to be Coil.
Yeah.
And Coil is like happy with how things turned out because Armsmaster and Dauntless got pretty taken out. And Coil says, let's get in a car together. Undersiders, Trickster. I think we have a lot to talk about. And that's where the chapter ends.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Some big moves here.
Big moves. Really fun battle again. Very different battle because Taylor is almost not involved. She doesn't have any bugs the entire time.
Yeah.
So she's really just watching, which it feels like she really earned because of how well she did in the last chapter. Like, they really won the battle at the gala, and they can just kind of stand back and let other people win this battle.
That's kind of what I was thinking. The way that it manifested for me was this feels like it's a cutscene for Taylor in the video game, right?
Yeah, she's just watching.
If you're controlling Taylor, you do the fight at the gala. Like, that's in your control. And then here, this is mostly a cutscene where, like, you're running away, and then Armsmaster and Dauntless show up, and then maybe you get to control Taylor where she, like, runs past Dauntless, but then, it's another cutscene. But, she has no bugs, so she can't really help. And it feels like it's both payoff for her achievements so far, but I feel like it also...
I mean, it opens a whole can of worms.
Well, yes, it opens a whole can of worms, but like just the fact that it wasn't as clean of a getaway as it seemed, I feel like it makes it really clear that the Undersiders wouldn't have gotten away on their own, which I think is a really interesting thing to learn.
True.
Right? Regent's able to just get Dauntless out of the way so they can run, but if they hadn't been bailed out by the other villains in the parking garage... I
mean, then Armsmaster would have been correct. They had no way out.
Dauntless and Armsmaster would have eventually carried the day. And, like, I mean, a couple of things, since I'm talking about this now, right? It struck me that without Tattletale, they're lacking a little bit of the right killer instinct, right? Taylor, at the beginning of the chapter, as they descend to the alleyway, is like, she's like, oh yeah, it's really uncomfortable being on these dogs. I'm really happy to be back on terra firma. And I feel like that's like there's this tension. Taylor's thinking, yeah, I did it. I can rest now. But actually things keep on going, right? And she was out of bugs. She wasn't, they
weren't prepared.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that it's killer instinct. I think it's more they're used to being warned about stuff, and so they aren't as like paranoid and cautious as they should be. Yeah, but
and Gru was saying like, oh, he's very cautious. He's like, well, we should stop to make sure we're not being followed before we get to the getaway point.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah, and I should be fair to Taylor, she had the smelling salts, which
the
gave
smelling
them
salts,
a moment of
we're like
awareness.
Taylor's main agency in this chapter, and it enabled everything else to happen.
Yeah, that's a good point. I got to give Taylor and Wildbow credit for having the protagonist thing there, but
what you said, that they wouldn't have gotten away on their own, is going to be really thematically interesting, as it seems they are being thrown in with this larger coalition of villains that they didn't know they were a part of.
Yeah.
The fact, I mean, they wouldn't have been at the gala without the boss's instigation, but the fact that they wouldn't have gotten away without the help from, I'm guessing, the other villains he sponsors is
seems
very
like a reasonable
significant,
guess,
and is going to be thematically significant going forward, I think, especially as they and Taylor face various decisions.
Yeah.
And, as we get a sense of, like, what does this mean? What is this going to mean? What is this moving towards for, like, the larger villain scene in Brockton Bay? Yeah.
And it kind of ups the stakes. This job is now, it was an Undersider's job, but this ending part is not just an Undersider's job, right? There are all of the travelers, and then these two solo, until now, as far as anyone knew, solo villains are involved. Right. And that's not even counting Coil.
Coil and his entire gang. I don't know we still don't have a term for his soldiers. Yeah.
The last thing on just the Undersiders failing to escape, I do wonder, like, Lisa is very insistent, just get to the parking garage. And, like, that builds tension. It's nice to have it be a surprise.
As soon as I saw her insist on that, I was like, oh, she knows something about
exactly.
This is going to make it work.
I do wonder, like, I feel like she shouldn't keep secrets when she keeps getting herself knocked out. Like they were so close. If she had even just said, like, no matter what happens to me, get to the parking garage as soon as possible.
That's true. Right? She could have said that. But it's possible she didn't know until this point that getting to the parking garage would result in them being rescued. Because her power doesn't necessarily give her everything ahead of time. It might have given her that information in the moment. Though she did ask the boss to
She arranged it.
But she didn't know, like, it could have been just the boss, which maybe wouldn't have been enough.
At least we're not in her head. I parsed it as when she wakes up, I'm just like imagining she's like, oh, smelling salt, stop. Like, ow, oh, my stomach, ow. And then her power's like, by the way, you guys didn't escape. And she's like, oh no. And that's what her power does for her. And then the parking garage thing is like, she already knew.
She already knew. That might be true. But hard to say.
It's hard to say.
Yeah, because she didn't really have any new information that would help her know about the parking garage.
Yeah, but it's good stuff. There's a lot of like fun stuff to dig into. Do you want to dig into some of the details or just get to the big reveal?
I mean, top of mind for me is the Coil thing.
Can you actually walk through? I just love, because I really love the way the chapter unfolds where like Armsmaster has them cornered and then he just gets like swapped with a piece of concrete. And then you see this new villain who's never been described. Like, just walk me through what it was like as you were, getting into that scene.
I mean, I feel like I always read fairly fast because it's, really exciting stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, wait, did a pillar fall on him? And then I was like, no. There was someone whose power was to swap things. So he got swapped. And then I was following that. Then I was like, who is this person who's smashing him on a car? I don't recognize this person.
Yes.
I did know that the sea monster or whatever was Genesis.
Nice.
That was clear. I was like,
Good
okay,
pull.
so the Travelers are here. Because I didn't remember it was Trickster, but I knew one of them had the swapping power.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, so these are the Travelers, but is this one of the Travelers? I don't remember this. And then Ballistic was mentioned, but I was like, I don't think he's the big, like, armored robot guy.
Right.
And then Circus, and I didn't remember Circus happening either, but Sundancer was there. So I was like, I have a lot of familiar pieces from the Travelers, which I'm like, now I understand why the narrative made a point to tell us about their powers earlier.
Yeah.
Coming in handy.
Circus and Trainwreck, they weren't part of the name game because they got mentioned maybe even back as far as Interlude 2 as just like people who were around Brockton Bay. Maybe it wasn't there. I didn't go back, but they have been name dropped as like people around Brockton Bay before.
That makes sense. I remember predicting Circus. I don't remember what I predicted, but it was confusing that Trainwreck didn't get named until relatively late in the action. But I kind of figured out what was going on, and figuring out that like, oh, the Travelers are like in on this. Like once Coil entered the scene, I will admit, I really don't like suspense. So I did, for both the previous chapter and this one, skip to the end to see if they escaped or like ended up arrested and being like carted off to the Protectorate headquarters. As I think I have said on mic, if we weren't doing the podcast in this format, I would already know how Worm ends. Like, and it's less stressful for me to read already knowing what happens.
Yeah.
So I had seen the Coil reveal. I had seen that they were okay.
Yeah. No, that's good to know. And maybe there'll be some chapters where I strongly encourage you to.
Yes, that is something.
You
can tell me when it's the right time for that.
But it's fun. I mean, it's fun knowing that he's the boss and that we're going to get that.
Yeah, and I'm so fascinated. So the Travelers were like mysteriously here, like we just couldn't resist coming by. They're not a local gang, but it seems like Coil either has been sponsoring them all along.
Yeah.
Or recently acquired them.
Yeah.
As one might a company or something.
Right. I mean, the Undersiders were working for Coil in that scene, even though they didn't know. So who's to say the Travelers weren't in the exact same spot? Maybe they didn't know. That's true. Or not. Maybe he recruited them after they showed up. Yeah.
That's possible. That's possible. They aren't mercenaries, though. So, I mean, he could have recruited them and, like, really brought them in.
Yeah.
But I kind of feel like because they didn't really have a reason to show up, and we were like, why are they here? Why are they putting themselves on the line for this? Like, this now makes so much more sense of that. If Coil was in charge of them the whole time, either their whole existence or, I remember now I'm thinking about the thing Sundancer said where it's like there are tensions or, like, quote-unquote drama. She's like, that's too mild a word, but... that are happening. I wonder if any of that has to do... Like, I wonder what the relationship is between that and Coil being in charge of them. Is the drama have to do with, like, oh, Coil is now their boss and he wasn't before? Is Coil their boss because there's drama? Like, or do some people resent him being the boss? Like, I don't know.
Right,
I don't know if there's a connection there. But I do think they came here because Coil wanted it. We had that scene in the tavern where Coil is secretly in charge of more than just himself. I think we noticed, I think Taylor noticed, he walked in alone.
Right.
But, of course, he wasn't.
Yeah.
he had the Travelers and the Undersiders.
Yeah.
And he very much was in charge of that meeting. Like, Kaiser was also, but like Coil was really taking the lead. Coil is the one who hired Fault Line's crew.
He was the one who said he would liaise with the heroes.
Yeah. He really wants to be in charge of a lot. And it seems like he's put in the groundwork to be in charge of, like, a lot of things. He's really playing the big game, not exactly the long game, but he has a lot of pieces on the board. Did
you get any like new vibes off of him in this chapter? I wanted to read just the little bit that he says at the end, because he talks to Lisa a bit, but Coil spoke more as though he were musing to himself than any of us. I was feeling theatric. The plan was for the Travelers, Circus, and Trainwreck to step out from the shadows as I made an impressive entrance. A shame it didn't play out, but I suppose it had a tactical benefit.
Yeah, he very much presents as like the rich guy who has everything under control, which has been my impression of the boss the whole time, and was somewhat my impression of Coil in that meeting in the bar. But like we said at the time, then you remember that he wears this like this full bodysuit with a snake coiling on it, and that is just so much a contrast with his sort of suave, like, businessman should be wearing a suit and holding like a glass of scotch. Right, but
he's like really leaning in to being like a Batman villain.
Yeah,
you know, like, it's such a funny. Yeah, he had a dramatic entrance planned, and the stakes were going to be 0, except for the impression it would make on the Undersiders.
Yeah,
right.
But
fascinating.
I mean, it made a great impression.
And no, yeah, right, and it's like I guess he really is going through. He's very secretive, but he's also going through a lot of effort to like cultivate his image. Right.
Yes,
it's a really interesting contrast there. And yeah, the image comes from the power he can display and not like looking cool.
And speaking of power, we still don't have any reason to think he has a power. And in fact, knowing that he is controlling all these groups makes me more inclined to think he doesn't.
Ooh, okay,
Because, he is... I love the idea of this character as someone who doesn't have a personal superpower and so has figured out another way to be powerful in this cape scene.
Right.
And it's wild that he overtly has this team of not super soldiers, just very well-trained soldiers who he pays.
Yeah.
And they control a lot of territory. And he sort of seems like, one of the main players. But then secretly he also is controlling like a large percentage of the rest of the players currently. I mean, the Travelers weren't there before, but it is wild to me. Like, he must have been so thrilled when the ABB started like flaming out.
Absolutely.
Not to use a dragon pun intentionally, but because like after this it's really only Kaiser's group.
Right. We thought it was a multipolar world, but it's basically, he seems to have collected all of the less prominent loose ends outside of Empire 88.
Crew doesn't owe him allegiance, but he did, he sponsored them. He could hire them as needed. Seems like he has the money to do so.
And we're sort of assuming they're going to leave town. We haven't confirmed that one way or the other yet.
But they're not territory holdings, so it's really, if there's a war, he's sort of already put himself in a position to win it.
Well, and can I connect some dots for you from what we learned a couple of chapters ago?
Yeah, please.
So there was that when Tattletale's like shit's going down. What we decided was Coil's forces attacked this corporation that led to a response by Empire 88. Right? And Tattletale was like, so their Empire 88 and Coil's forces are fighting in the streets. And then 5 minutes after that hit went out, the boss, quote unquote, reached out to the Undersiders. And we learned that the Travelers did 2 big jobs earlier today as well. So putting it back in context, most of that action, other than like the merchants are trying to take over the ABB's territory, all of the stuff that we learned about was Coil making moves.
Yes.
As soon as the truce went down.
Oh my gosh, that's such a good point. Yeah. Coil is kind of masterminding this, and Kaiser's kind of just reacting a little bit.
That's all we've seen so far, yeah.
Yeah. And Coil is clearly aiming to not exactly bring down the heroes, but he wanted them humiliated enough to pay a lot of money, which seems like he must be incredibly loaded.
Yeah.
But still a lot of money even for someone who's loaded.
He's running out of money just to get the Undersiders to do this, because he's clearly also paying the rest of these folks.
Yeah, this isn't his last hurrah. This is the beginning of something. So it looks to me like there are 3 significant factions in Brockton Bay right now. There's the Heroes, there's Empire 88, and there's Coil, who has, several pieces that
Coil
didn't
et
until
al.
now. Coil et al. So this is interesting in terms of our allegiance as readers, what Taylor's going to want, what the Undersider's going to want. Taylor is still theoretically on the side of the Heroes. And so I guess, the idea that Coil is forming this, coalition, Coil is consolidating power, would seem like a real threat of, the forces of evil are gaining power in this way. I wonder if Coil's move is going to be like, Empire 88 is the worst. We need to take them down.
Yeah.
And how does Taylor just had the experience of I tried to take down the ABB and everything got worse. Is she going to say to herself, I could turn all of these people into the Protectorate. I have a bunch of information that would really help. Would that make everything worse? Would that just mean that Empire 88 is sort of the villains on the ground? And they are the worst villains.
Yeah.
Even if you're a white supremacist, like Purity is, you still think their methods are awful.
Yeah.
They're just bad in all ways. And we don't really have a lot of information about bad things that Coil, the Travelers, we don't know anything about Circus and Trainwreck. Empire 88 is so clearly worse than them in how they've been presented to us so far.
Right.
I do wonder if Taylor's move is to say, if I bring them down, evil will be stronger. So what I need to do is help them with this, and then once they take out Empire 88, I'll give a bunch of information to the Heroes, and the Heroes can take out them.
Ooh.
I think that's going to be her play.
Yeah, get another plate spinning.
Especially because the Heroes just let her down so badly.
Yeah.
Again, completely understandable why Armsmaster didn't want to take that deal. He doesn't put all his eggs in one basket without some major protections.
If she can't get out of the tangle, she at least needs to re-justify it to herself.
Yes.
And that's a very good...
Because she totally could get out of this, but she just had the experience of taking down a villain gang and having it not have the consequences she wanted.
Yeah.
So I do think she's going to think about that and decide that, no, I can always go to the Protectorate to take down these guys, but let's let them do the dirty work against Triple E first.
Yeah. Ooh, it's we'll see.
But Coil has really big ambitions.
Right.
So the idea that he's going to be easy to take down at some future point in time, he's probably only going to get more powerful.
Yeah.
So
what we've seen, the Undersiders are an incredibly strong team. The Travelers also seem an incredibly strong team, or at least they're incredibly strong individually, and they seem
we don't
to
know
be
about their
working
team
together.
dynamics.
Yeah.
And we don't know that this is all Coil has. This is all Coil is sharing with the Undersiders now.
And that's an even better point.
Right. And maybe this might also be the first time the Travelers are learning. The Travelers might have known he had other minions, but yeah. The Undersiders didn't even know that, though. I thought it was pretty obvious he would, but...
Yeah. Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. Did you get any impression of the Lisa Coil interaction? There's not a whole lot here.
Yeah. It seems like they have a reasonably good working relationship.
Yeah.
She's apologetic. She's like, sorry, I messed this part up. But
yeah, it was interesting.
He's like, nah, it's cool.
Because he starts with kind of a diss.
Yeah.
And then she makes a pained expression and says sorry. And then Coil glances around some more, then seems to come to a decision. No, I don't think there's anything to apologize for. And then he goes on his little dramatic thing. But I guess I sense there's a moment of tension there, and then he relaxes. On the next page, she's grinning.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really interesting.
There is a really, really stark power dynamic there. He has all the power.
Yeah.
And she is in his favor. And, it feels almost like age and gender stereotypical, the way that they're, he's the wealthy man. He's probably, 30, I don't know. He's older than,
Yeah.
He's probably not in his 20s, I don't know. He's probably older. And she's 16 and... And the young intern, he's almost like a Christian Grey, 50 Shades of Grey figure here. Yeah, that's sort of the vibe I get.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I'm not saying Lisa has anything to do with whatever the protagonist is, but
just thinking about that dynamic, I feel like there's a world where in the story so far, again, not saying anything about what happens in the future, but there's a world where Armsmaster and Taylor could have hit it
could
off
have
better
had that
and
relationship.
had that relationship.
That's so true.
So it's really interesting to have that parallel set up. And short of some other shenanigans, we have Armsmaster and Coil in the same room right now. So
that's fascinating, actually. Like, if Armsmaster had been more of a Coil, he could have independent heroes who he, like, basically has... like, you know, has gambled on and is like, I hope that they do good things for me. But he's not willing to do that. He has to be he's too tightly controlled in how he operates.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a tangent, but, like, absolutely loved what Lisa was saying to Dauntless. I mean, Dauntless didn't hear it because he had earplugs in.
Oh, yeah.
Armsmaster knew that he didn't want Dauntless listening.
Well, yeah, we can circle back to Coil later if we want, but let's get into that stuff because it's really good. Before we hear about what Lisa said, should we just talk about Dauntless and who he is? Because he's the missing member of the Protectorate, the one that wasn't at the event.
Which wasn't an accident, Lisa says. He's the one Armsmaster resents.
But yeah, I guess, what did you make of his power, his whole vibe?
So cool. It reminds me of, did you ever read that, like, story of, like, the guy in China who's like, I just want 1 grain of rice, but double it every day. And then he's, like, the richest man in the country. It's like,
exactly.
I mean, it doesn't have the exponential factor here, but, like...
Yeah, so what he does is he's not a tinker, but his power is every day he can imbue his gear with power to make it stronger. So he has a lance, a shield, and boots that he has been making stronger and stronger every day. But in a way that sort of reminded me of Loong's power, there's, like, theoretically no upper limit. It's just sort of like he gets better every day is his power.
Right, they're saying, like, eventually he'll surpass even the most powerful capes in the Protectorate.
And he's gone with kind of like a Spartan Greek warrior type of theme, like the spear, shield, and boots.
Yeah. I feel like that's both incredibly powerful and a vulnerability because the other, like Alexandria, you know, the other heroes they mentioned are inherently powerful. They cannot be separated from their power.
Yeah.
If someone steals his gear, which might in fact happen right now, he has to start from zero.
Yeah.
And he's still going to be a big deal, but, like, suddenly he won't have the power he had. Like, unless he's found a way to, like, make his gear inseparable from himself or something. Like, there's always going to be that weakness of, like, if you lose your stuff, you lose everything.
And we saw Armsmaster's halberd.
That was so satisfying. Oh,
let me trace it through the chapter because Taylor is very antagonistic when Armsmaster shows up and is like, didn't I throw that off the building? And then he just, like, demonstrates. He throws his halberd into the air, but then he summons it back to his hand like a bonded weapon in D&D or something.
Like, rematerializes in his hand or something.
Taylor clocks that it looks like Kid Wynn's tech that he used to summon the gun turret. So it's like, this is an example of Armsmaster taking another Tinker's thing and then incorporating it into his own gear. Right. And then at the end of the chapter, the halberd also gets trickstered with a car bumper.
That's right. I forgot about that.
And so Trainwreck's just holding it as Armsmaster is knocked unconscious. And then he just crushes it and destroys it at the end. Which, like you were saying about might happen to Dauntless's gear, I don't think that rematerializing the halberd in your hand is anywhere close to recovering it from being crushed by
No. Because wasn't the halberd kind of beat up at the beginning? Like, he didn't recreate it.
So all of that work, all of that prep that Armsmaster put into it...
he can probably do it again.
Right, but the characterization...
He's not, what's uber elite? He's not elite.
But the characterization, right, he's the one that has to stay up nights, reworking his stuff, compiling simulations, coming up with new ideas, training in the gym for hours and hours on end. Every second of work he puts in, he gets more and more resentful of Dauntless, right?
Yeah.
So, like, maybe it is much easier to do it a second time, but it's like, it's just like the nightmare of, like, you haven't saved your draft, right? You lost your external hard drive, right? Like, I've been coding something all week and
I wouldn't be
lost.
surprised if he had more than one.
Fair. Yeah. I might be too worried about it, but yeah.
That description that Tattletale gives of, like, you know, Armsmaster hates Dauntless. She's saying this to Dauntless because Dauntless kind of, like, swanned onto the scene and was, like, immediately this rising star because every day he gets more powerful. Like, there's no cap.
But yeah, and Armsmaster, he has to think of it and he has to do it. He has to put in the work.
So hard.
Yeah.
That description made me think of Scholomance, of how hard all those kids who aren't, like, the elite have to work for survival. Just, like, every single moment has to be turned toward that goal. And in his case, it's every single moment has to be turned towards ambition.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he knows he's not inherently good enough. I mean, this was what I was saying about him in the last chapter. He doesn't have the natural skill to just easily rise to the top. He has to work this hard, and he's still not quite at the top.
Yeah.
And he can see that Dauntless is going to surpass him.
Yeah.
Because Dauntless doesn't have to work that hard every day. He just puts a little power into his things. Like, that just comes naturally to him.
Yeah, exactly.
Just gonna build up.
Exactly. Oh, man.
Armsmaster is due for such a fall. Like, he is keeping himself in his position by the skin of his teeth. And, like, through so much hard work, but...
Right. So I'm super impressed with him. He's incredibly effective up until he runs into a villain he wasn't prepared to face.
For.
Right.
Right, because he had been studying the Undersiders.
Right. But he's probably never
the Travelers
heard of Trickster.
New.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe he gets some intel from, like, Trickster was fighting the ABB, but maybe he doesn't. Right.
It's only been like a week.
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah, and he's been focusing on the Undersider. You know, like...
Right. He has to focus somewhere. I mean, they've all been so busy fighting the ABB, like, he probably hasn't been able to figure out every new villain. Right. He had to focus on the Undersiders.
And even between last chapter and this chapter, he solves for Tattletale. Right?
Yeah.
This is like, fuck psychic shielding or whatever.
Yeah.
Just put in earbuds.
Yeah.
If you can't hear her, she can't hurt you. Like, it's so simple and so effective. I love it. I love it.
Amazing.
Oh my god.
Of course, that only helps against Tattletale in battle, but still.
Yeah. I also think it is so funny. We haven't seen that much from Trickster, but I wonder if he was just listening out and Armsmaster said, "No more tricks," and he's like, "That's my cue, baby," and then swaps him.
That's so funny. Because I'm sure he was like, oh, I should swap him one of these moments. But, like, you're right. That moment in the speech.
Or maybe, because we know Coil loves drama. So maybe he's there. And Trickster's like, God, and he's like, no, wait. Wait for the perfect moment. And then he says, okay, he said tricks. Go for it.
It's such a faster and more thorough and, like, funnier version of what happened to Armsmaster in the previous chapter. Like, the previous chapter, Armsmaster has so much hubris. Like, he's so arrogant the entire time, and he's, like, slowly, like, not exactly slowly beaten down, but they're, like, you know, they're trying to beat him, and finally Taylor does. And in this chapter, I mean, he's standing up well against the Undersiders, but he's like, there's no way out. There's no possible way you can win. No more tricks. No more. And then he's just swapped for a concrete pillar and, like, banged against a car a bunch.
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
It's very much
it's
like
rough.
the kind of... I was going to say it's the kind of gag that you would do in a Marvel movie. It's the gag from the end of Avengers where Loki is standing on the balcony of Stark Tower and he's like going to monologue and you're like, there's going to be a whole like battle scene or whatever, and the Hulk just like swoops in from the side and like slams him away and like hits him. It's that moment.
And it's so satisfying.
Yeah. Right, because he already got beaten the slow way, we can kind of beat him the fast way now.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, we ended up talking more about Armsmaster than Dauntless. But yeah, we talked about Dauntless a little
Dauntless
bit. Like,
we don't know as much about character-wise.
Yeah. I guess there are a couple of things. He didn't have any lines, but I still thought he was very cool.
Oh, yeah.
Right, which is like... But I think Taylor hypes him up as like he's kind of a hometown hero. And like, I'm like a fan of Brockton Bay in the story so far. So I'm like identifying with Dauntless.
It's hard to root for the heroes while we're in Taylor's perspective, even though Taylor is theoretically rooting for them. But yes, I agree.
Yeah, the people of the Bay are out partying tonight because their 6-night curfew is over. We learned that in this chapter. So I'm with them. Like, they should be partying. But yeah, so some of the stuff that he does, his shield creates a force field, which, in addition to being a force field, seems to, like, burn away Gru's darkness. It, like, creates this, like,
your
ozone
cool power
scent.
interactions.
Yeah, it's amazing. And right. Dauntless was so good for power interactions with the Undersiders. And then, of course, Regent's power is, like, very effective versus most people. Like,
it's weird that, Armsmaster didn't give Dauntless that psychic shielding.
Is it weird? Is it weird?
No, it's not weird.
Right.
No.
I don't know if we finished this thought, but yeah, he sent Dauntless out on patrol because he didn't want him around for, like, the fun photo shooting celebratory stuff because he resents him.
I mean, it is perfect, actually, because he did give him the earbuds or, like, told him to wear them or whatever, like, whatever was going to be noise canceling, because he wanted him to be protected from Tattletale's power, but mostly, I think, because he knew Tattletale would tell Dauntless about the resentment. He did not give Dauntless the, like, tech. I don't know if he could have, but, like, it feels significant that he didn't to cancel out Regent's power because he doesn't want to give the kid any more advantages.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
It's really, really toxic to be the leader of the team, but, like, to be driven more by ambition than anything else. So, like, you don't want your strongest team members to succeed.
Right. No, yeah, that's exactly what you want. If you want to be a good manager, right, you're the one taking heat to boost up the people who report to you. And, like,
but no, he wants to be the star.
Exactly.
Which makes him a terrible leader.
Right. Yeah. Maybe he sees himself as, like, the more of a C-suite type. But he's not quite. He's a VP, and he wants to be the CEO. Yeah. Right. Like, that's his dynamic.
The thing is, like, that doesn't make the heroes of Brockton Bay evil.
No,
but it does make them, like, a group that, like, I don't at all want Taylor to join while Armsmaster is at the helm. And I mean, it doesn't seem like she's going to anytime soon, but, like, just the, like, interpersonal stuff that really, like, no, don't go into that toxic workplace. Like, please don't get that job. Like, it just is another emotional reason to root against her joining the heroes.
That's a really good observation. Yeah.
I mean, if Armsmaster didn't already hate her personally, Okay, but this thing where it's hard to say how much this is Lisa actually knowing and how much it's her extrapolating based on, like, this would make sense. Because she does know that Armsmaster is incredibly ambitious, and she claims to know also that he really resents Dauntless, which could be just an inference that she made without her power. But, like, she can make that inference, but she still doesn't know that Taylor's planning to betray them.
Interesting.
So is she not thinking about Taylor? Because, like, she does have to focus on something for her power to work, usually to some extent.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. Right. How much is it, like...
Does she just trust her so
how much is it, like, perceptual? Like, she
Yeah.
looks at something and then her power tells her something? And how much is it interrogative? Like, when she woke up, did her power just tell you you're being followed? Or when Regent said, we got away, does she think, is that really true? And then her power kicks in,
well,
right?
With Bakuda, we saw Bakuda said something, and Tattletale's like, that's a lie. Oh. But she didn't know why. So I think when Regent's like, we escaped, she's like, no, we didn't. Oh, no.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes it's a little bit more like perception. But I know when she was dealing with Victoria and Amy, she had to work super hard and it exhausted her. So I do think there's a way in which she can, like, apply herself, like, use her power in a deliberate, like, intensive way.
Right.
And she probably was doing that with Armsmaster and with Dauntless because she's like, crap, they're going to defeat us if I don't find a weakness.
Right.
But she hasn't been in that position versus Taylor. I'm still surprised that given the long period of time, this is somewhat, that they've known each other, it hasn't presented itself to her. But again, maybe she's just not thinking about it.
I don't know. That's interesting.
It's also possible that she knows and is like, I've chosen to disregard this knowledge because I know you're not leaving us or something. But...
Right. I mean, like, what would it mean? I feel like both options are interesting. What would it mean for her if it's a blind spot, and what would it mean for her if she already knows? Right. Like, those are both really interesting options.
Yeah. I mean, if it's a blind spot and she ever finds out, like, she'll have, like, major self-doubt.
Right. Yeah. It's the kind of mistake, like, oh, well, there were more heroes at the bank, like.
But over such a longer period of time,
and
so
in this much more
personal way.
For their team.
This is going back to something, but this thing where Armsmaster sent Dauntless out to, like, supervise the wards because he didn't want him getting the glory of the gala. And then Dauntless ended up being the one hero who wasn't encased in foam and could help him, like, fight the Undersiders. I bet Armsmaster is so pleased with himself. Even if Armsmaster lost his halberd and is, like, taken way back and, like, has to kind of claw back some of his power, if Dauntless loses his gear, Armsmaster is going to be so happy. He'll be like, I suffered a huge loss, but it was worth it.
Yeah. Well, and it would have actually been worse because Dauntless getting involved and getting beaten up, gear or no gear, is better. Because then if it's like, oh, well, the Protectorate except Dauntless was here.
Such a good point.
If only Dauntless had been there.
But Dauntless also got beaten. So He's like, oh, thank goodness.
Exactly. Right. It's a huge, huge loss and embarrassment for the heroes.
It says something that Armsmaster involved Dauntless at all, because Armsmaster thought they were going to win, so there's a risk it comes off as like, the heroes were defeated, but then Dauntless saved the day. Yeah. Armsmaster had to call him, so Armsmaster must have really felt like he needed him.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Which is fair, he would have.
Or he just, he's a tool, but he was valuing the importance of
occasionally he bows to practicality.
Exactly. He's not a total...
He's not only in it for... Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't get a lot necessarily about Taylor this chapter, but there were a couple of interesting things. One that's connected to Armsmaster. When he first shows up, right, we can still only see his chiseled jawline, but there are welts from the hornet stings, and then there's blood pouring down his face also. And then she thinks like, well, I was having the hornet sting with minimal amounts of venom.
That's so Taylor.
It's very Taylor. But then she's like, but when I was out of range, obviously the hornets were still there, so maybe he got stung. And then when she sees the blood, she's like, oh, but, I wasn't being that discriminating about where he was being stung. So, like, if he got stung, like, in the eyelid or, like, other sensitive areas, like, that's probably causing bleeding. So she thinks a little bit about, like, I tried, but...
This is someone who did not have her insect spider sting the crowd.
That's a good point, but the reason I'm bringing it up is it's another great example of unintended consequences, right? She did her best, but, had she had it her way, had she been perfectly in control, she would not have hurt Armsmaster in this way. But because of how things played out, he got hurt, and that's not something that she meant to do.
Yeah, as she's finding things you do, you can't always control the consequences of them.
Yeah.
I mean, Armsmaster tries to, but...
Yeah, we talked a little bit about her inventory. The other thing I really liked is she has her change purse, but she stuffed it with tissues so that the change doesn't make any noise. I really love that detail. And it just occurred to me that basically, like, we talked about how Armsmaster prepares so much in advance. And, like, Taylor does not have to be a tinker to prepare just as well, right?
Yeah.
She brought her smelling salts. She doesn't need superpowers for it.
About preparation as Armsmaster. But yeah. Well, she doesn't feel like she has to claw herself up some mountain of her own imagination.
But what I want to ask you about is this paragraph about hero worship that Taylor thinks.
Yeah,
because in the context of Dauntless being a hometown hero, she thinks, I didn't follow that stuff. Didn't buy into the hero worship. I'd always found the capes interesting. I'd follow the non-gossipy news about them. But with the exception of a phase around the time I was 9 where I'd had an Alexandria t-shirt and had my mom help me find pictures of her online.
And she had the underpants.
Never really got giddy over any particular hero. But yeah, we know about the Alexandria lunchbox. We know about the Armsmaster underwear.
I'm so excited for her to meet Alexandria someday.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, but so what did you make of this? Is this just filling in gaps about Taylor?
I mean, yeah, it kind of makes sense. But I feel like she's not being fully honest with herself.
Yeah.
Because she does have this image of the Protectorate as this group that she really wants to not exactly belong to, but like be impressed with her.
Yeah.
So I think she's like bought into a little bit more of it than she wants to admit to herself.
That's kind of where I am.
She's like, I don't like this boy band. I just like their songs, and I have one poster from when I was little, but I don't like them.
Yeah, and I wonder if it's because the fact that her hero-villain binary is being threatened so much that she's maybe like compensating a little bit to play down the fact that she had this part of her that was like, but the heroes are so nice and, they make me feel squee on some level.
I think it's how she always would have thought about it, because she's just not the kind of kid who'd be like,
she just never, she's always going to be a little bit.
Once she got old enough to be like, I find them interesting.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I think the pop music analogy is really good. She's at an age where you can't admit that you like stuff that's popular.
Yeah. Like, and she is particularly the kind of person who can't admit that. Yeah.
Yeah, the fact that she wants to be a hero doesn't quite square with this. But we did have, back in the very first chapter, she has that book, the biography of the Triumvirate.
She's like, it's probably full of lies.
It's probably full of lies, right? So, like, that's always been part of her. And we did get the names of the Triumvirate all together in this chapter. Oh, yeah,
remind me. I wasn't
Alexandria,
paying attention. Yeah.
Legend, and Eidolon.
Oh, that's the new one. Eidolon. Yeah, cool. Oh man, I'm just so caught on this image of Taylor as someone. So we talked about how she is someone who has a strong impact on the narrative. Like,
yes.
the things that she does and the things she chooses have huge consequences. She also has been learning, there's a major theme, that she can't actually control the consequences. But she does have a lot of power to influence them. Mm-hmm. And I can totally see, and this whole thing where I think she's going to stick with Coil's consortium for a while, like how she will be trying to like shift the consequences towards the outcome that she wants, but she doesn't have full control over them. And it's going to be a really difficult and frustrating activity for her.
Yeah.
But I do think her goal is going to be, because we already learned that Kaiser is like a national figure in white supremacy. I think her goal is going to be to take him and his, you know, his sort of magnet group of white supremacist villains down. Yeah. And she's going to be like aiming for that. Just her aim is pretty inexact. She's got a great weapon, not that great an aiming system.
Right.
In terms of narrative power.
Oof. Yeah, exactly.
So I'm curious what Coil will tell. I'm really excited to read the next chapter and find out what Coil will tell them. I will be surprised if it's anything other than we're going to bring down Kaiser, but maybe he's thinking bigger. I mean, Kaiser's a national figure, so that is pretty big, but you never know.
Yeah.
I wonder if it'll intersect at all with the information we've gotten from Faultline, the Gregor interlude about people who are giving power, like creating powers. Like that feels like it could be part of whatever Coil's endgame is.
Right.
Yeah.
It is really interesting. We've had a lot of vibes from Coil, but we don't really have a motivation. There's nothing. Yeah. Right. He seems like an archetype of this, like, mastermind.
Yeah.
Right. But, like, we don't really know. And, I mean, maybe that's all there is to, you know, that's why does anyone want to be a supervillain? He might just
want power, but there might be more to it. We don't know.
Yeah.
Would you say at this point, I know what the story is about?
Absolutely not.
Oh, my God. What is it going to be about?
But
absolutely not. That's so strong.
We're getting such momentum. It's so fun.
These 2 chapters in a row, I was like, oh man, this is what reading Worm is like for people who go fast and like get through the slow chapters quickly and then, you know.
Well, it's so good because, like, I feel like of the big moments I've anticipated, I wasn't necessarily anticipating the fighting in this arc being... Like, it wasn't something that was on my, like, top 10 or top 5, like, bits of the first half of the story. But I've really enjoyed this sequence.
That's kind of fun that this didn't even crack your top 10.
Yeah, but just because there's so many fun little character beats, there's so many fun power beats, and then the momentum that the story is building is really satisfying. Because we're getting, like, the insinuation plot is... either coming to an end or coming to a big twist or additional
she's going to have
complexity.
To make a new decision.
Right.
Yeah.
We're getting somewhere in the story, which is super exciting.
I'm so impressed by how little repetition there is in the fighting. Like, we've had so much fighting so far.
Know.
And, I mean, Taylor only has the one power. And, I mean, she's fighting often with the same group of people, not always. But it has always been different. And... it feels like too much to ask for that to continue. But I suspect it will continue. Like, I think that Wildbow is good at kind of knowing, like, you don't need to show something if you've already shown basically the same thing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think that's a real skill. So, I talked about how Dauntless is cool. Can I just talk about how Circus is the coolest cape in the story so far?
So cool.
Yeah, she, like, Taylor says she has, like, a grab bag of small powers. But they add up to her being, like, it totally makes sense why she picked the name Circus.
Yeah.
Because it, like, makes her more acrobatic. She has a little bit of pyrokinesis. And she has her own pocket dimension where she can stash stuff. So she pulls a torch out of her pocket dimension and uses it to breathe fire on Dauntless. And she has she's in full, like, motley. So cool. Yeah, the sledgehammer thing, it's a colorful sledgehammer that she uses to hit Dauntless.
With ribbons.
But she doesn't even pull it back with her own arms. She hits Dauntless, makes it warp away, moves her hands, and then summons it again so she can go, like, way faster than you would expect. Yeah, she doesn't need
to bring this heavy thing back through space.
Yeah, maybe she was throwing knives at some point.
But she was, yeah.
It just, we've got, like, 4 or 5 paragraphs about Circus, and I'm immediately like, Circus is so cool. I want to see Circus on TV. I want to see a spin-off movie about Circus. Like, everything about, and, you know, just, Wildbow is so good at making these characters come to life.
Oh, yeah.
Both in terms of the, like, aesthetic, the way that their name matches it, and just, like, the way the powers work.
When we learned about Circus's pocket dimension, which I'm just thinking of, like, the Transformers, like, subspace compartments, I was like, oh, she could operate like Armsmaster does, because what Taylor was saying about Armsmaster in the last chapter is he's so effective because in a small space, he can kind of be prepared for anything. Like, his halberd does so many different things. He has this consolidation power. Circus doesn't have any of that, but anything she needs can be in her pocket dimension.
Yeah.
So she can always have what she needs. She can have that level of preparation.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like she's quite interested in being the kind of figure Armsmaster is.
No, yeah. And I'm super interested to find out, what do the solo villains feel like they're getting out of the sponsorship?
Well, so Circus, they tried to recruit her to the Undersiders, and she turned them down flat. Right. Was that before Coil had her in his pocket?
Yeah, who
or
knows?
After?
Who knows?
Like,
because Coil seems like he's been around, like, because he's of one of the villain tentpoles of the city.
Yeah. He's not a newcomer on the villain scene. Yeah.
Yeah.
He recently formed the Undersiders, but maybe Circus was already his, and... Yeah.
Some other, just talking about power things that were cool in this chapter, we got to see Ballistic's power. It had been described before, but he can touch things and then make them go, like, bullet speed in no time at all. So whenever Dauntless puts up his shield, he touches a car, and basically instantaneously the car smashes into the shield and deactivates it.
Do you think he gets friction burn on his fingers?
I wonder. Yeah. But that is so cool, so powerful. And
like Sundancer said, it's
But
hard
it's like
not to have casualties.
He throws the car at him to take down his shield. He could also just hit him with a car. Like,
That's
he's
true.
not doing that
That's
because they're
true.
not trying to kill Armsmaster and Dauntless. But
I am curious what they're planning to do with Armsmaster and Dauntless. I mean, the goal was to humiliate the heroes. I think, tying them up naked in the town square or whatever is going to be pretty humiliating.
Yeah.
So that's probably what their plan is.
Yeah, exactly.
But I do assume they're going to take their gear.
Yeah.
Which for both of them is pretty debilitating.
Yeah, devastating.
Yeah.
The other thing I liked, so Dauntless and Armsmaster are both heavy hitters, incredibly powerful. And we see Armsmaster's, like, wrecking ball and his halberd incredibly effective against the dogs.
Yeah.
Dauntless is arc lance. It's, like, infinitely extendable and, like, does lightning or whatever. Is not powerful enough to hurt the dogs.
It hasn't gotten there yet.
But it's good enough to take out, presumably, people.
Yes.
But I really like that, again, it's not just like when you are, the 10th most powerful cape in the setting, that means you beat everybody beneath you at everything. Right.
Yeah.
It's like
it's much more complex.
The people who can beat the dogs, it makes, it's in a way that makes sense.
I also wonder, I'm imagining Dauntless's power as, like, the thing in D&D where you're like, oh, I've reached a certain level, now I have, like, however many, like, 2 extra points to put on my stats.
Yeah.
And you have to choose where to put it. So, like, every day he's like, do I make this lance more extendable? Do I make it stronger? Or do I focus all my like, ability on my boots? Like, what do I have my boots do? It's all these things.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
That's also the kind of thing where, like, you hope that back when you started, you made good choices about your equipment, because otherwise you're really locked in.
Right. Well, this is a chance for him to go in a different direction, I guess, if he loses all his gear.
It's true. Yeah. It's true. He have a new aesthetic.
He has to start enhancing a codpiece so that he can be safe from Taylor's Reign of Terror.
Oh, they just shoot lightning from it? Like in that I Just Had Sex music video? Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh, those fireworks. Anyway.
Speaking of having sex, I think we had the horniest,
we had a moment.
The horniest moment Taylor has ever been in the story, which I insist on reading out. She's been clutching onto Brian during this whole uncomfortable ride, and at the beginning of the chapter, they are going to check on Tattletale. I reluctantly let go of Gru as he slipped down from Judas and rushed over to help. I silently lamented having included the panels of armor on my chest and stomach, which had been a solid barrier between my body and his back, as I clung to him on our retreat from the Forsberg Gallery.
That is a wild thing to think. Immediately after those panels of armor saved her life.
I know.
She was, like, being slammed with the halberd, and that was what was keeping her from dying.
But she's
so
riding
horny.
so high, and she's holding on to the big, strong, teen boy that she's been crushing
she's like,
on.
I'm never going to get to touch him again because this is my last mission. Alas for my armor, keeping us apart.
Yeah, I truly
we could have had sex on that dog.
I truly loved that whole bit.
Yeah, really good sunbug moment. But I mean, now that she has to stick with Coil until they defeat Kaiser or whatever, how is she going to handle her immense attraction?
Yeah.
They're going to start dating and she's going to be, like, regretful and, like, obviously holding something back. And Brian's going to be like, what is it? I feel like you're just holding something back from me. And she'll be like, I can't tell you.
Could be a lot of relationship drama.
Yeah.
See if it goes in that direction.
I assume it's mostly a soap opera from here on out.
Yeah.
That's what the story's about that you're not telling me. It's about the child she has with Brian, who has powers, obviously, because
that's right.
Their parents did. It's a very, like, Gilmore Girls type book from here on out.
Right, and that's the cape named Worm.
Well,
we started out, the first arc was called Gestation.
Well, I'm surprised to use that arc title now already. Well, do you remember, like, I feel like this is a thing a lot of parents do, but when Violet was little, we referred to her as Bug. I mean, to be clear, she's still little, but when she was, like, an infant, we referred to her as Bug, which we don't really do, so she's not much of a bug anymore, but maybe they referred to their infant as Worm, and it really sticks. How's Worm?
How's Worm?
Worm's asleep.
I love it. I don't know that I have anything else on this chapter.
I've made a lot of predictions.
You have made a lot of predictions, so should we just get into the end business? Specifically, where do you think the next chapter goes? I can tell you, we're getting Tangle 6.8.
Okay.
Continues.
I'm not surprised that that's not the end of the arc. They're about to talk in a car. I mean, I think Coil's going to kind of lay out, like, yeah, I have all of you guys. I mean, I feel like he's going to tell them the things that I basically already predicted.
Yeah.
He's going to say, like, next up, Kaiser. And,
right, and the consequences will sink in for Taylor.
And Taylor's going to be like, oh, but I can't defeat them before they defeat Kaiser, because that's basically helping Kaiser, who is even worse than these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's my guess. We'll see.
Sounds great. Do you want to hear the start of that chapter?
Yeah, I'm assuming there are no new cape names.
There are not new cape names.
Okay.
We didn't dally, stopping only to let bitch.
Shrink her dogs enough to get into the car?
Could be, though that might take a while.
That's true. Maybe it's just a really big car.
Maybe it's just a really big car. That's true. A car that can fit 3 buses inside it.
You make a good point.
They might not be bus-sized. They might be more like cow-sized. No. I'm not sure.
Well, I don't know if it's possible for her to shrink them quickly. We know that she can grow them quickly at need, and it's really tiring. She might be able to shrink them quickly. Could also be tiring. Who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah. Maybe she just long enough to let bitch, like, pat the dogs on the nose because they have to go home without her.
They can just go into the sewers. Isn't that how they get around the city?
That's true, actually. Maybe it's to let the dogs go into the sewers to travel home without her.
Yeah. Well, yeah, all right. So dog logistics next time.
That's what most of the next chapter's about, I assume.
Yeah.
Next time.
On Inchworm. Worm is a web serial by J.C. McCrae. You can read Worm at parahumans.wordpress.com and support the author at patreon.com/wildbow. Follow us on Tumblr and Blue Sky at Inchworm Podcast, or find our Discord link and any other updates on inchwormpodcast.com.